Hey everyone, and happy New Year's Eve. It's Wednesday at 12:15. You know what that means? It's the Orlando Homeowners Show. And today is going to be a little bit of chat of reflection of 2020. I've brought in my operations manager, Jennifer LeBron. She's going to help us out, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, everyone. Hey, welcome back. And I'm going to bring in Jennifer. Hi, Jen.
Hello.
You know what's funny, Jen, is every week you are deemed the task of doing a mic check with all of our guests. And for the first 11 episodes, it's been perfect. There's been no flaws with Mike. And just so everyone sees out there, at about minute 2.5 of countdown, Jen's mic went out, and it was very ironic that this has been the only mic check problem we've had.
Mm-hmm.
I find irony in that.
That's for sure.
Orlando Homeowners says only buzz on that. Oh, is that your comment? So you typed only buzz on there, Jen. So if you have any private chats, put it in private chat. Otherwise, comments go out to the whole world.
Yes. So
we're good. Hey, now that we've got past that, Jen, I thought it'd be good if you and I talked about the year of 2020, the growth we've had, the changes we've had, the pivots we've had to do, as a way to hopefully shed some light of the lessons we learned, some kind of the wisdom we gained, and see if we can help other people to have a bigger, faster, stronger 2021.
That's a great idea.
So where should we start with that, and what does this look like?
Well, when I was hired in November 2019, there was a vision for the Bosley team going into 2020. So, we started off great with our Great Day at the Lake event, and then that was in January. Come March was a whole pivot.
Yeah, I remember I went snow skiing in March. I was up in Whistler. So flew to Seattle, went to Whistler, and literally on the drive back from Canada to back to Seattle is when my brother who lives in Seattle got the notification that says, hey, this thing called Corona is pretty bad. Everyone stay home from work. And my flight out was very normal. My flight back 7 days later was about 20% occupancy of the plane. It was bizarre how quick it came and then how it's still here.
So then what was your vision going forward? Once mid-March comes around, how did you envision pivoting that business plan?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because if you recall, the goal of when you joined was that we are going to actually triple our production. We're going to do 3 times as many sales, get almost to helping 60 families. And doing that, we're very event focused. In January, we had that Great Day at the Lake event. We had 15 sponsors and DJs, and everyone went to the park. We were actually serving food to people with no masks because it was January. And it was very normal. And we had Easter egg hunts planned, pumpkin patches planned, summer barbecues planned. And all of a sudden in March, well, it didn't really happen that fast to me. I think we were holding on for hope that it was a fad. Mm-hmm. If you remember, we were partnering with the city of Oviedo for a lot of things. We just went out and bought all sorts of video production, green screens, and we are going to be a marquee sponsor at all of the Friday night movie in the park.
That's right.
And I think we were a sponsor for the Oviedo High School bowling team or something of that we were going to be in the bowling alley. All of that just went away. And so we quickly had to figure out how we can still do what we were doing and pivot. Another pivot, Jen, was as a Keller Williams trainer, 40% of our business, right? 40% of our business came from other agents referring in clients and customers. And the way we were doing a lot of that lead acquisition was through me driving to Tampa, Jacksonville, West Palm, and teaching. Well, that went away. And so I think what's neat is we pivoted quickly to do stuff like this. We pivoted quickly with Zoom. In Zoom, we've been a Zoom account holder for years, yet it wasn't mainstream at all. And now, kids who are 6 years old in kindergarten know Zoom, and grandparents know Zoom to talk with their kids who are in kindergarten. Zoom is mainstream as Google now.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So that was a big pivot for us. How do we take the same intention with face-to-face, adding value, creating relationships, being top of mind, yet how can we do it now in a digital fashion? And in a way was through teaching via Zoom. It was through, instead of doing open houses and door knocking, we shifted that money, that energy, and that effort towards marketing homes through Facebook and paying for Facebook campaigns and creating that. But it definitely did change. I think one of the reasons, Jen, we were able to thrive the way we did and have our growth we had is we were positioned to pivot quickly. How was that for you? What was the change for you, Jen? Because we usually laugh at me of how quickly I'll just change my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've got the plan, I've got the vision, it's like boom, and I can pivot quick. You seem like you pivot quick, or at least you keep up. How was that for you from someone who is very methodical?
Well, you have no choice when you're put in that predicament, right? You have to just pick up and go with the flow. You're not able to go out there and do what you're used to doing. So why not pick up and go with the flow? Whereas we have all of this live streaming available, you have the Zoom available, let's go that way. If people are going to be stuck at home and on their phones and their computer, let's start marketing and campaigning online.
Yeah.
Let's, do the trainings online. You started very early in the year with going out to homes and showing homes, via FaceTime. So that quickly just changed over, to Zoom consults.
That is interesting you bring that up, because we had 2 or 3 closings before COVID that were completely virtual by proximity.
Right.
They lived in different states, and we did a Zoom meeting on MLS. We found out homes together. And then I went out and previewed the homes on their behalf via FaceTime. And we closed 3 homes in the first 2 quarters via FaceTime. That the first day the client saw their house was on closing day. Actually, Leslie McMasters, the first time I met her was last week dropping off her Christmas gift.
That's right.
And she closed in February. I never met her, because by the time she closed, we weren't allowed to go to closings with her because of COVID there.
Right.
You remember Mastro Giannis?
Yes.
Julie? They were the one that kind of was the first Rocky for us, because their closing date was about a week after things started shutting down. And we weren't sure what was going to happen to real estate. She wasn't sure if she was going to be homeless or not.
Right.
We had a closing. It was new construction, and
we didn't know if we were essential or not to be able to assist.
The essential business. Yeah, because in Pennsylvania and in Michigan, it got shut down. Real estate was not essential anymore. Title was essential, but real estate wasn't. So we weren't sure what was going to happen come March. We were able to get the PPP, which was a great incentive, the Payroll Protection Act, to make sure that everything could stay stable, because we didn't know. And in fact, I remember in April, there's about 2 or 3 weeks that we went from a seller's market to an unknown, weird market. That deals were had. Dan Davis bought his house for $255. I think it appraised for $275. He could sell it for close to $300 right now.
Yeah.
And he with putting not a whole lot of work into it, and he did it because of that weird unknown. So how does this translate? Because now as a MAPS coach, and I'm coaching the other business affiliates, not just realtors. If you listen to this right now, I want you to think about what pertains to you, because if you own your own business, you've got to do it all, right? Like we do. Maybe you're in charge of marketing. Maybe you're in charge of client acquisition. So what have you done to lead gen or shift your lead generation? And think of yourself as a consumer of going, how are consumers buying and spending now? How are they looking at things? But I thought about the 5 models, Jen, of the lead generation model, or the economic model, which essentially says, what do we want to earn at the end of the year? And break that down to cost per sale and conversion rates to how many appointments. That really didn't change.
Right. Well, what about next for organization then?
Well, the organization, that honestly didn't change either, because that was directly affected by our production. So if we think about the bookends, right? The bookends are how many closings do we want to have, and how big does our team need to be to get us those closings? That didn't change because that's the goal and the result. What changed is the strategy and process in the middle. The lead generation strategy we've touched on, and the budget. Our budget necessarily didn't change, yet it did shift and pivot a little bit. So you run the books, you look at the budget. But if I were to say, how did COVID impact our budget or our finances or our margins? Would you say, in the grand scheme of things, it did, or were we able to pivot and kind of maintain the same cost?
I believe we pivoted to maintain. Like I said, instead of doing things in person, we went fully online. So to be able to maintain that.
Yeah.
And to move forward.
Including, which we have rolling out hopefully the end of the week here, our new website.
Right.
All right. So we've put a lot of money and work and effort into our website because we're finding we're throwing events out on Eventbrite. We're doing things on YouTube and Facebook, which where we are now. And then we had, I'm a domain junkie. If you guys have a domains anonymous group, I'd like to be a part of it. But we had Orlando Rick was one domain, and Go Bosley was another, and Bosley Houses was another, and Bosley Team Events is another. And by doing that, it's so confusing for the consumer because we're sending them to 5 and 6 different websites and different domains because we're just piggybacking on it. So now we've got the Bosley Team, and we're going to put all of those in one spot, including a searching portal, including registration for all of our events. So that'll be going live here. I'm going to say January. By January 31st, it's live. I would like to say sooner, but I'll put out there live right now. But yeah, it really just changed through that. And then the fifth model is accountability. And I think this is where the rubber meets the road, Jen. You are new to the real estate industry, yet you've got 15 plus years experience doing other executive assistant operations, mainly in the financial sector, right?
Yes.
What do you see from your seat in terms of accountability, not only for your role, of what are some ways that I am holding you accountable and vice versa, you, me, and how could it be applicable to other industries that you've worked in? Or maybe what are they doing that someone else could share? And maybe if a roofer is listening to this, or a landscaper, or a loan officer, what sort of accountability stuff do we have in place? What's important for you as someone who's running operations?
Well, for me, what's important is having that weekly team meeting, making sure that everyone is on the same, course for the week, and holding each other accountable each morning, even if it's for 15 minutes, getting together. What's the game plan for today? Are we checking off, what's on our task list? And that's what's most important for me, just making sure that, you have those touches in the morning.
Yeah, and we've been pretty consistent, not very consistent with that, right? It's kind of an ebb and flow. So if you're talking to someone else out there who they know that that's what they want to do, yet they're not always doing it, what advice do you give to other people, whether they're the owner of the company like me, or the operations and running the systems like you? What advice would you have to get that in place?
Have that open door policy with your coworkers / employees. Make sure that you hear and listen to what it is that they want as well, to be able to have those open discussions, and set aside the time, aside the time for that accountability to make sure that it all gets done.
Yeah, I think whoever's on your team, that is your family. That's your work family.
Yes.
Gary Keller, who's the owner of Keller Williams, he not often, but has said, before you can change the world, you've got to change your country. Before you can change your country, your state. Before your state, your city. Before your city, your community. Before your community, your neighborhood. Before your neighborhood, your family. Before your family, yourself.
Right.
So if you want to change the world, it starts with you. And that's his moral to that. I was talking with a team leader of an office yesterday, and the goal is to change the office. And when you change the office, you change Central Florida real estate. Yet it starts before you can change the office, you've got to change the influential agents in your office. And before that, you've got to change your team. Before that, you got to change yourself. So my wisdom out there for you folks who might have a team is your team members are more important than your customers, which sounds weird that I say it out loud. But at the end of the day, Jen, if you and I are working and we are in full sync and we are doing exactly what we need from each other and we're jiving, we will then be able to turn that and do better for our customers.
Exactly.
Then if I keep missing weekly team meetings and if I keep blowing off morning, because now you and I are figuring out we're not on the same page. I'm saying one thing to a customer, you're saying another. I think I'm putting the customer first, but really I'm doing is giving them poor customer service.
Mm-hmm.
So the lesson out there, this is a good reminder for me because we have been inconsistent with it, is we've got to master ourselves first.
Right.
Jen, you've got to be the master of you. I've got to be the master of me, right? Because I can't make you do the things you're going to do. You're going to do it or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
If it's waking up and being on time, I'm not going to knock in your door and wake you up on time. That's on you.
Mm-hmm.
If it's having the focus to get the job done by a deadline, that's on you. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing to go do your job. So if you listen to this right now and you're not thriving with your team like you need to, start with going, where are you? Look in the mirror first and going, how are you showing up? Once you feel you've got that at least in check, that you're moving in the right direction, now you're going to say, how are we showing up? And I think that's what you just talked about here, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we have a dysfunctional team, then there's no way we can carry out and execute out in the field like we want to. In fact, there's a book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and I think it's Patrick Lencioni.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the dysfunctions is a lack of healthy conflict. And that goes a little bit about your open door policy. So it comes with first trust. When you have trust with somebody, you can have conflict. When you don't have trust, you can't have conflict. You don't want to say something that would be conflicting with my thoughts because you're not sure if we have that trust or rapport that I wouldn't backlash, right? So the first thing is have your trust. The second thing is then have healthy conflict with the open door policy, with the invitation. And we've disagreed on some things. At the end of the day, you kind of concede and be like, all right, you're the boss.
Yeah.
I think, but overall, we've been on the same page.
But that's healthy, that just helps you move forward.
Yeah. All right. So what's in store? Well, and I don't want to go into 2021 yet. We will talk about the org chart. So what we do, and so I share what we've done to, if you are growing your business or your operation or your income and you're in charge of your commission based only, there's a book and we're reading it right now on the team called The 12-Week Year. And full transparency, I have not really gotten to any thick of this. Like I've barely broken the cover yet. What's pretty neat is I believe in a lot of ways we're doing at least a portion of what this is. How far along are you in this book yet, Jen? I know you were
I'm to chapter 10, I think it is.
Okay, so you're about 2/3 the way through.
Mm-hmm.
When I hired you, it was on a quarterly basis of my business was at a threshold in those 90 days. And for me, it was 9 closings in 90 days that says I'm at the point that I can afford to get some help to achieve some growth, right? And so when you came on, I said, okay, I can do 3 by myself. If you and I do 3, you might be giving me some time back in my schedule, yet we're not really raising the bar for anything. In fact, it's probably costing me money through the salary because I'm not raising the income.
Right.
So then it was not 3 a month or 9 a quarter, it was 15 and a quarter. And that was that surge of going, hey, when we can do 15 and a quarter, we're going to hire some help. And the first quarter sucks.
Yeah, it did.
What do you attribute that to? Now that you know what you know, because last quarter you didn't know. You probably had some second thoughts. You thought I was full of smoke, right? Because I hired you in November, maybe not, but I hired you in November, and in the first quarter, I think we had 4 closings total.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was also a learning curve for me. But then again, once, the whole coronavirus came around, I even thought, do I still have a job?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. But, slowly we plugged along and business thankfully picked up.
Yeah, it picked up quick, and I remember it happened sometime in April or so, and I was like, it's happening. Like all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it was like pop, 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 pop.
Hmm.
And over the summer, I think we closed 20 homes over the summertime, maybe even
Yeah.
like 20, 25 homes from May to August.
Yeah.
And so that's when we said, hey, Kay, we're hitting that 15 units in a quarter. We are pacing for 60 units. Let's hire some help. And we brought on Georgette.
Yes.
And so almost to the day, a year later, early November, Georgette joined the team
Hmm.
as an additional salesperson. And so now with the 3 of us, it's going to be 7 a month or 21 and a quarter. So we will be hiring in 2021 for a marketing, digital branding, someone to help take this content and blast it out to the world. And if you say, when are we hiring? And the answer is going to be when our business tells us to, when we close 21 homes in a 90-day span, which goes back to the 12 weeks of creating the business plan to go close 21 homes in 12 weeks. So the lesson there, if you're listening and you run a business or you're looking to grow a team, is have benchmarks in your team of going, who's on your team right now, and with your optimal productivity from each person on the team, how much should you be doing? And that's when you can grow. Because Jen, if I didn't perform as a single agent and I never hit 9 units in 90 days, I would have never hired you.
Exactly.
I'd have been a single agent. If you didn't perform or we didn't jive well together, we never hit that 15 units, we would have never stopped from growing. And then we'd have had the point of going, was this a mistake? Do I have the wrong person in you, or does this whole hiring an assistant not even work and it's easier to do it by myself?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So as you're listening to this, figure out in your organization, what is the capacity for each person? What should the capacity be for each person? Look at your organization chart and saying, if I were to rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolute best, and I want you to rate that on 2 different marks. Number 1, how's their attitude? Are they optimistic? Are they a team player? Are they do what it takes? Are they driven? Are they going to the same destination you're going? So number 1, how's their attitude? Number 2, how's their performance? When you came in your first 90 days, as expected, your performance wasn't where it is now.
Right.
It was new. It was a new industry. You're learning things, right? Your attitude is great, and we saw the progression happening. Adversely, I could have hired somebody who had 15 years of real estate experience who had a crappy attitude.
Exactly.
What do you think is easier to fix?
Well, it simply all comes from the MREA book, right?
Yep.
Just following those models.
The Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, if you don't know what you're talking about there. And it's a real estate book. It's really not, though. It's a business book. Yeah, and it goes down to those 4 models.
Right. And it breaks it down very, very easily for you and to follow. Right.
Yep. Yeah, so look at your team. If they're a 10 out of 10 for performance and attitude, then figure out how you can grow them to the next level. Expand, promote, do something so they don't outgrow you. John Maxwell calls it the law of the lid. And they're going to, if they get higher than you in terms of their leadership, they will leave you. So figure out how you can expand and make their world bigger. And that can go down to a 9, 8, or 7. And 7's like, yeah, pretty good attitude, pretty good performance. If they're a 6 or a 5, we call this the reddies, the greenies, the brownies, right? And so greenies are 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know if you ever heard this.
No, I haven't.
Okay. The 5 and 6, they're the reddies. They're red. And they're on 90-day probation. And if they're a 6, their attitude is great, the performance is not. Because I can get you to a 7 quicker by changing performance. If you're a 5, your performance is great, your attitude's not. And we've got to have a little bit of a come to Jesus mindset conversation. Either way, we've got 90 days to turn you into 7.
Gotcha.
And if you're below that, a 4, 3, 2, 1, you're a brownie. And what do you do with brownies, Jen? You flush them.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is how unscripted we are. So that would be some wisdom out there of look at your team, identify the goals that you have of how many closings or deals or homes do you want to build or roofs do you want to put on or lawns do you want to cut, and say, given my capacity and my team's capacity, do we have what it takes to get that job done? If the answer is yes, then we figure out the strategies of how to go do it. If the answer is no, you can say, is it because I have the wrong people, or do I need to add more people, and go through that ready greeny exercise, or go through the next hiring. So I'm going to do a little bit of plug here as we wrap up, Jen, for the business coaching, because this is a new endeavor. I've had a passion for coaching and training since I've been a team leader, so it's been for the last decade. Yet now I'm doing it official with MAPS Business Coaching. In fact, I'm going to pull up here that starting on next Friday, we're going to do some group coaching together. Well, not together. I'll be doing group coaching. Here we go. And share screen. And there we go. And I just have you share it through Canva, everyone, so you see it. But there we go. We're going to be doing it on Zoom every Friday from 8:30 to 9:30 for some business coaching, talking about these systems, these tools. Here, I can expand that out, I think. There we go. Lovely. Talk about these systems, talk about these tools, talk about your team, talk about your organizational chart. We'll be doing different trainings. So we've got our training calendar. That's pretty robust, and this is intended not only for our customers and clients, also for agents, small business owners. So Jen, I'm going to pull the ad up so we can see where this is. Everyone, by the way, if you haven't used Canva, it's such a great product for creating any design or thumbnails. A lot of what you're seeing here is Canva. So we've got this, Jen. We've got our calendar, our 2021 of how we've kept the same economic model. We've added the organization chart. We've got a new lead flow with our existing lead flow. I know the suspense is killing everyone who's still watching this. Thanks for hanging in there, everyone. There we go. And so we've got these shows every Wednesday at 12:15. We've got customer appreciation next Friday. We've got virtual trivia, just a fun way to plug in and do that. Home buyers workshops every Thursday. We're teaching some aspects of your mindset and mastering yourself and some accountability tools. Right? So we have this all the way through the end of the year. An investment seminar through the Hold book. Here it is right here. If you want a copy of that book, it's on Keller Inc. Super convenient to have both of these just handy right there. So as we close out, Jen, what is the advice for other realtors or other business owners or consumers out there as we go into 21 and we still have no clue when COVID and masks and social distancing is going to be done? What is your advice that you can share based on what you've learned in the last 12 months?
Sitting down, business planning, making sure that everything is laid out month by month, and then checking in with your team, checking in, making sure that those goals are being reached.
Yeah, and I will add to that, if you have a solid business plan and you know it will work, then trust the process. So many people will do 11 or 12 things and then quit when that 12th thing is when it turned over. Right. Trust the process, have faith, get some accountability, get some training, get some models. If you and I want to have a cook-off and we're going to go bake a cake, guess what I'm going to do, Jen, before I bake a cake?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to open a cookbook and go, how much flour, how many eggs, how much sugar, right? And if people would run their business like they would bake a cake, they would do better. But they don't. They wing it like they're a chef, a pinch of salt, right? Bakers have measurements and teaspoons. Chefs are like dabs and drizzles and blobs.
Right. It's all precise.
Don't be a chef in your business. Be a baker. Be precise. And then trust that when you do all those things and mix it and put it in the oven for 40 minutes, it will come out as a beautiful cake. So everyone,
Cool.
if you were a part of our journey, we appreciate you for supporting us, for trusting us. Jen, this year wouldn't have been the same nor feasible without you. So thank you for everything you've done for me and for my family, and everyone else out there. We will see you in the new year. What's our next class? We have next Wednesday, right? We've got, let's see who we've got. I'm
Renters, like what's going on in the rental market.
Here. Yeah, what the rent is going on. We're going to talk with Chris McMahon. He's the property manager, and talk about what's happening in the rental market, because I think as long as that keeps driving up, then our first-time home buyers keep driving up. So if you're a landlord, would like to be a landlord, or a renter and want to stop renting or keep renting, tune in next week. We'll see you then for our Orlando Homeowner Show, Wednesday, 12:15. Jen, thank you as always. Everyone, have a great day.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, and we're out.